Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Rasslin Report. And here's your host, Rated R for Rasslin and Jonesy Chats Wrestling.
Welcome back to the Rasslin Report. We are live, living color, back again, joined by my main guy, Jonesy Chats Wrestling. Jonesy, what's up, brother?
I'm great, thank you. It's great to be back. Looking forward to this. I hope you're well. Great to come off the pay-per-view. And yeah, it's great to be back with another episode. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. Last week, 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ago, we weren't able to record or live stream. Last week, I was joined by Steve from SCW. It was a great stream. Back again with Jonesy. We got Tino time. I was on his channel a few days back on Thursday. Appreciate you, Tino, for joining us. Thank you, brother. How's everything? What'd you think of the pay-per-view or the premium live event, as it's called? So obviously, the stream is called The Fallout of Crown Jewel. Jonesy, off the top of your head, real quick, just a quick thought. What did you think of Crown Jewel? I know you had some strong feelings about it.
I thought it was a good event. Generally, they made some silly decisions, as always, but I think the main event was incredible. The women's title match was good. Some of the creative decisions were baffling, though, to me, to a certain point. I couldn't believe sort of some of the stuff they did, really. I
agree. Some of the stuff they did is kind of off the wall a little bit. They did the whole, well, we predicted that it was going to be, they swapped the titles, those tag team titles, and they're just going to swap them right back just for the crowd there, right? I'm upset that the women's championship match didn't go the way I planned. The person I chose did not win, and I think she should have won. But we got a few things to get into, also a couple of rumors and stuff like that we're going to get into a little bit after we cover all that was WWE Crown Jewel, one of their more controversial pay-per-views every single year. So we're gonna cover it. But anything else, Jonesy, what you thought of the week in professional wrestling other than Crown Jewel?
I think generally it was a pretty good week, all in all, lot to talk about, even coming out of AW. But we're very much in this is filler at the moment going into Survivor Series, particularly WWE. I think this was a pay per view that was an inconvenience. They didn't really need to do. They've done it obviously for the money, and it just felt like a bit like a Saturday night's main event or something. It didn't have really any relevance of importance, if that makes sense. It
Yep.
was just a house show basically.
Well, that's the thing with these pay-per-views, right? They're always kind of just the timing of them are like only a few weeks out from a major pay-per-view. I feel like they should just get rid of one of the whatever BS pay-per-views that they have in between and just make it one of these shows, something like that. I don't really know why they don't do that, but hopefully they do it in the future. I think these shows are hurt because of that. Because of that decision to do them that way. But let's get right into it. The first topic and it's WWE Crown Jewel. We'll start off with the first match. We'll start off with Asuka and Alexa, the tag team champions at the time, because they won it this past week, going up against Damage Control, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai. And Dakota Kai and Io Sky get those titles back. Now, I hate when they do this. I hate when they swap the titles the week of and then swap them right back. I think it's pointless. I don't really understand it. If you want to get the cheap little pop for a new team winning or a team winning a title or the title changing hands, I don't think it's a good thing. The match was decent. I think it was an okay match. These four women work well with each other. Something for Asuka and Alexa Bliss to do, but just to give them the title, just to drop back to Damage Control again, I think is pointless. And I think it already hurts and deteriorates the titles that are already on the basically in the trash can at this point.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing with it, the match was okay. The highlights of the match were basically Sky and Oscar having that stare down and stuff like that. That was pretty cool, but it was filler. I like the finish. The finish was quite clever. And yeah, coming out of it, I was more interested in the Alexa Bliss seeing the Thing logo or seeing Bray Wyatt's logo before the match than I was the match, to be honest. All I could believe is these are placeholders until Sasha and Naomi come back, probably. But changing the belt regularly doesn't really do anything. And the impression of what I've heard today is Nikki Cross apparently is in Damage Control, is probably what they want to do, which isn't the route I would go down. I would much rather see her do something for Bray, to be honest, and be that weapon Bray has in the feud with Alexa if he's going to go down that road again. Because they never do men versus women, like real violence and all that. Oh, this is where it kind of falls down a little bit.
Yeah, she's kind of odd to put in that group. I don't really think she fits that well.
I think it's for War Games, in all honesty. I think they just need another heel, and you have to ignore the fact she attacked Bailey the other week, which, unless that's going to be explained as a bluff, maybe that's the only way I can try and justify it, really, in all honesty.
Exactly. Yeah. It seems like it's just a means to an end to get another person in, do a 4v4 Survivor Series match. I thought they were going to go the route of Rhea Ripley, maybe, because, then you could bring in Beth as for the babyface team. I talked about it on Tino's live stream on Thursday. Nubico, what's up, Nubico? Thank you for joining us. As per usual, Nubico is always with us every episode of the Rasslin Report. Tino says, like we talked about, what was the point if Bailey didn't win? So, me and Tino talked about this on his stream, and we talked about the fact that, if they're going to swap these tag team titles back to Damage Control, why not have Damage Control rule the night and have Bailey win as well, which she obviously didn't, which we're going to touch about in that match a little bit later. But what are your thoughts on that, Jonesy? Do you think they should have just had Damage Control rule the night if they were going to swap the tag team titles back after just swapping them, Monday night?
Yes, they should have. They should never have lost the titles in the first place. You know what I mean? This was just what was Monday night about? Was it the 1, 2, 3 kid beating Razor and Mon for just a laugh? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was the purpose of it, if that makes sense? But I agree. And this would have been the point for the heels to look strong going into the pay-per-view, really. But I don't really know what the long-term plan is. All I know with Damage Control, I think the appropriate word is damaged. I think that's kind of what they should be probably known as, because the booking on them has been horrendous. Like, I was so excited to see them at SummerSlam, and week on week they're getting kind of lost. That's the trouble with this. I think you're going to have to try and redeem this situation. And in War Games at the moment, like, we don't know the teams or anything like that, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're the ones that are going to be losing. I can't see them coming out of War Games with the win at the moment, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Damage Control has fallen off, and I think it's the issue of the fact that when we spoke about it at Extreme Rules, after Extreme Rules, that Bailey should have won that ladder match.
This is the running theme every month.
Yeah.
Like,
and they should have not have Bianca destroy the whole team by herself.
I agree with that. I think the problem with this is, what was the point of Bianca getting pinned at Clash of the Castle? Like, it just had no purpose.
Yep.
But I think to be fair, like, going back to the match and stuff, I thought the match was really good. All I'm hoping is we get some continuity and follow up with Alexa Bliss in this Bray thing, because they seem to start stuff and then just drop it. So let's see where they go with this. And this just did what it needs to do. But these tag team titles are just kind of worthless. They're like 24/7 title for me, to be honest. They're just filler.
Yeah, So the rumor is that also Dana Brooke wants to transition that 24/7 title, which is useless, obviously, to like an IC title for the women. What are your quick thoughts on that?
It would make sense for an Intercontinental title to be a women's one. Like women's mid card title is not surprising, but Dana Brooke isn't the one, to be fair. The 24/7 title was one that Triple H saw sense and got rid of quite quickly, which kind of makes sense. But it depends really who you're going to have. The trouble you've got in a lot of this, like you don't want to run out of good women to compete in the division. You've got a lot of people that could be main eventers, and this mid card women's division, they kind of struggle, but they are adding women all the time, it seems.
Yeah, they added Emma. They have other people maybe coming back. With Naomi maybe coming back. Sasha Banks seemingly coming back soon. All that. So Nubenko says Asuka, Alexa Bliss, Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and Candice LeRae versus Damage Control, Nikki Cross, and Piper. War Games.
Yeah, I think that's a good match on paper. I don't see Becky Lynch back in War Games. I think it's too much of a dangerous match for her to come back off an injury, so I don't see that. But that would make sense. I think the whole team makes sense. Although Piper, I think, is going to be far away from Nikki. The impression I got, this is something else I gathered as well, Anthony, that do you remember when Alexa and Nikki, when Alexa turned bad originally and Nikki was the one she turned on?
Yep.
I think they're going to kind of go down this road, but it's a bit of a mess at the moment. This is only obviously the first chapter. Let's see what they'll do on Raw. But I just hope this War Games match has been well built. The only thing they've seemed to have built with the women is Damage Control versus Bianca. Alexa and Asuka really is the only thing they seem to have built. Where you add other women, you're going to have to do a lot on Raw to start getting some other people just to be dropped in it. You've obviously got Nikki Cross as one, but you need somebody else now to be added as well.
Yeah, like I agree with Nubenko's comment there. I would just take out Becky and Piper, and that's probably what you're going to get. Candice LeRae seemingly she's
Piper
going
would
to
be good to see her come back.
Yeah, but I think they want, like you said, keep her away from Nikki Cross.
Yeah, I think the thing with Piper, as you said, you've got to forget the fact that they fell out. That's the whole point of Nikki Cross going off her own sort of tangent, it seems. Yeah. You know what I mean? So this will be a good match, but just see what they do. I think from an in-ring perspective, that's fine. Instead of Becky Lynch, perhaps you could put Raquel in. Raquel's, I think, it's really good. She's good enough. She's been on War Games match as well.
Yeah, that's somebody because she's been in the other ones and the NXT ones, and the size advantage. But I think that would have helped if you would have had Rhea Ripley be part of the heel side, and then you could bring in, I
think she might be in the other match. I think she might be in the other War Games match. To be fair.
Oh, in the men's.
I'd like the cross. There's going to be a cross match between, sort of. It looks like to be the OC and Judgment Day.
Okay.
And then that would be you'd probably be Edge and Beth. Versus Rhea, and obviously you've then got the other members of Judgment Day. I think that's kind of the route they're probably going to go down, to be honest. That would make sense at this point.
Most likely. Alyssa Stansbury, not a fan of Damage Control. Trash. Let's see. Nubenko and everyone complaining about Asuka's booking after all these years. Now Io Sky is getting bad booking like crazy. What do you think about that?
She's won a women's title, but women's tag team title. It depends. Like I think with Asuka, injury hasn't really helped her, but she should be a women's main eventer for the world title. But that's the problem in Damage Control. You've got sort of two fantastic women's wrestlers in Bayley and Io Sky. And then you look at the other side. The other side is former women's champions, which are Alexa Bliss, Asuka. You know what I mean? It's a lot. It's a lot of talent just been wasted in stables for me.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot of talent. But they have so many people that stable. It's the AEW effect. You have so many people, you put them all in stables that they all get TV time at once. You're killing multiple birds with one stone there. Numenko OC versus Judgment Day. Seems like that's where it's headed. I don't know if it's going to be part of a regular match or if it's going to be a War Games match.
It has to be War Games. They haven't got enough. If they're going to do two War Games matches, they haven't got enough in 2 weeks really for me to, because War Games is meant to be a blood feud. It's meant to be a feud ender.
So the Bloodline doesn't really have anything to be in that area.
If it was going to be the Bloodline, to be honest, Anthony, they would have got attacked at the end of the show last night.
Mm-hmm.
There was a perfect opportunity for all 5 of them on the ramp to be taken out, basically, besides all 4, minus Sami Zayn, sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with you. There's not enough time to have the Bloodline being something, meaningful enough for it to warrant the War Games match. So, OC Judgment, they seem like that's where it's going. But we'll see who they add. That's going to be interesting to see is who they add to these teams. If it is Edge and Beth Phoenix, and then we'll see what happens with that. Next match, the Usos versus the Brawling Brutes for those undisputed World Tag Team titles. The Usos get the win. We all know that was happening. The Brawling Brutes, I never took them as a serious contender at this point, just because maybe if Sammy wasn't and Jay weren't having so much fun and so much fun to watch on TV and their storylines, part of the Bloodline, maybe they could have had a loss here, but they're too popular. The current things they're doing right now are way too over for them to even be plausible to actually lose these titles to somebody like the Brawling Brutes or even, any other tag team right now currently in WWE.
This was a really good match, considering the injury that the Usos got. I thought this was a really, really credible match. I really enjoyed it. The right finish went over. Slight trepidation, concern of what's going to happen on Friday night. Friday night's a huge match with a New Day. If he's injured for months, does that say what the result is already? I guess kind of a little bit.
So it depends. So if he's injured for months, do they slot somebody else in there? Like how we saw Undisputed Era kind of swap who was tag team champions because they had injuries. Could we see Solo jump in there or Sammy jump in there or something like that if one of them is injured?
That's a fair point.
The
Does
Freebird
it
rule kind of
does
thing.
it count as much though? Does it have as much legitimacy and as much? That's a good, clever idea. For me, I think this isn't the part to give the belt to New Days. Usos need to hold these titles.
Yes.
Hold them to Mania, really. I think the dream is Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn against them and finally taking the belts off them, or FTR when the contracts are up next year. They're the team that I would like to see win the belts eventually.
Yeah, it's a team that just has to come and dominate WWE because they are the best tag team on the face of the planet. Tino says, Paul Brothers taking the titles, please. No. What do you think about that?
They won't take the titles at all.
Logan's going to be out for a while. So
yeah.
he busted up his knee pretty bad. So he's going to be out for a while. But I mean,
it's the cost.
Yeah, but eventually let's say if Jake gets into WWE, eventually this is going to happen. They're going to win the tag team titles.
No, I don't think so, mate. I think you look at the cost per booking them, I'm breaking this down to a business sense, the amount of money it costs. I know Logan Paul's in a title shot, but to have the tag team titles, unless there's going to be a Roman Reigns deal where it's once every quarter, the title's defended, I can't see it, to be fair, because they're going to be paid on appearance probably.
That is true. Yeah, they're paid by appearance.
They might get a shot. They might get a title shot, to be fair. But
yeah, I mean, it would make sense for them to team up because they are brothers, and then eventually, if they're there for a decent amount of time, you could run a program where they're either partners or they turn on each other and kind of go.
It's a spectacle, isn't it? Maybe WrestleMania or something if Logan Paul's back in time, which I don't think he is, unfortunately.
No, I don't think he will from that injury. I get the feeling that New Day is winning. Domingo says, "I hope not."
That'd be good.
I don't think it's the right time for them to become, for them to drop titles unless they're going to split the titles. Maybe that.
Maybe both teams get counted out or something, and then the belts are held up or something. I don't know. Like I think that's pretty cheap way to lose the titles, but we'll see.
Yeah. Tino says poor Logan. Yeah, I mean, it's a bad injury. I think it was meniscus, MCL, maybe ACL. So that's pretty much everything. That PCL was the last thing to go there. He's gonna be out for a while. Breaking news from West Coast Podcast: John Cena sucks. We all know that, and we all know which member of West Coast Podcast wrote this. My guy Zach is there. Good morning, guys. I say Bloodline with Naomi versus Judgment Day at War Game. It would feel like mixing talent, like original Survivor Series. So in that concept, it'll be a traditional Survivor Series elimination match.
I think there'd be a fantastic match in ring. I like the Naomi edition. The only issue with that is two heel stables against each other. I don't know. I think the Bloodline would be babyface going into this a little bit, but no, mate. I think the thing is there's too much going on with this whole Beth Phoenix Rhea Ripley revenge storyline, like for that to just be dropped. But they did drop Rey Mysterio and Dom like at a moment's notice, so never say never.
Yeah, they did drop it. I'm assuming they're holding in a holding pattern, maybe until WrestleMania. So you'll probably see them interact at the Rumble leading up to the Rumble. They'll be in the Rumble together, Rey and Dominic, and then that'll lead to WrestleMania. That's the match. That should have happened last year's WrestleMania. It should have been Rey versus Dominic.
I tell you what I would have done. Call me crazy. This is Vince Russo for me on Sunday. I'm not drinking vodka or anything, but this is what I would have done. It's crazy. Say Rey Mysterio is still involved. What I would have done is I would have had Rey have another daughter, somebody we know or something like that, and they could have passed it off that I've got another child to take care of this situation to get Rhea. You get somebody like I don't know, Tessa Blanchard or somebody. I don't WWE rename people all the time.
Yeah,
and you can pass them off, and that's something they could have done really, but I don't know if it would have worked, but I think at this point, Corny can kind of get away because Rhea Ripley, the only thing really they can do is either Charlotte Flair, or they can then go to, the other one as well, which Beth Phoenix. Sorry.
Well, so she had the sporting the Beth Phoenix kind of hairdo at Crown Jewel, and she tweeted it out there that she was rocking that hairstyle. So it's pretty much written just there. So I mean, I would like go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. All I was going to say, it will either be tomorrow night or be Survivor Series where she comes back.
Yeah. No, but it would be nice to finally get Naomi in the Bloodline because it just makes total sense. We've been wanting it for a while, but this might not be the spot for it because Rhea is she's teasing it already that her and Beth Phoenix is going to be a match that we're going to see in some, shape or form or another. All right. So Usos beat the Brawling Brutes. We all knew it was going to happen. Solid match. The matches throughout were pretty solid, minus, one, but all the matches were pretty solid. So going from two solid matches to Braun Strowman versus Omos. Braun Strowman gets the win. He's obviously the underdog here, just in terms of height, because obviously the other guy's taller than him and heavier than him. It's one of those rare occasions where he's felt vulnerable. Braun Strowman has, because obviously in this case he's facing somebody rarely enough bigger than he is, and that's where the problems lie in the Braun Strowman character and the way he's presented. It's tough to feel him vulnerable for him or have some sympathy towards him as a babyface because he's so huge, dominant, and the way they book him. So here you get the rare opportunity to see him in kind of the underdog role. So that's why I always think this guys like this need to be heels. That's why the whole Hogan trope is like, do you need a monster heel to take on Hogan? You need that. You always need monster heels, big guys as heels to kind of move forward in a babyface storyline. I never liked him as a babyface. Braun Strowman, I think he needs to be a perennial heel. But he gets the win here in a match that nobody ever wanted to see.
No, I think it was a good for Omos. I think it was a good Omos match. The right person went over, and I think this kind of did what I need to do. Really, I think this was an okay big man match. I think I'm glad it's done, and yeah, just where they move forward. I think for me, in an ideal world, put Omos to NXT. Let's get this guy a bit more seasoned. He needs somebody to work with him that can teach him a bit more. I think there's a lot of pressure and spotlight on him. I thought he handled himself well, but they did a great job of hiding his faults in this match, I felt. But I think this is what they need to do. Braun obviously has got bigger things lined up. It's where they go next with this. I would quite like to see Braun and Karrion Kross. That's the route I would go down next. I think that'd be a great big man match that could tell a good story, obviously with a history in Control Your Narrative as well.
Well, I think Omos is just perfect for Raw Underground. If they were to bring it back, he'd be the Raw Underground champion. I think that's, I was a fan of Raw Underground. I thought it was interesting and different. If they were to bring that back, that's a perfect spot for him. Other than that, I mean, it's just one of those guys, like, what do you really do with him? He's so huge that you just book yourself into a corner at all times with him, because either he loses to somebody obviously who's going to be smaller than him, obviously, then he loses credibility. Or if he's that much of a monster, then how do you make him lose? So it's one of those tropes like that. So it's tough when you have guys like that.
He's an attraction. That's it.
Yeah, that's what it is. Next match, Karrion Kross, like you spoke of, versus Drew McIntyre inside of a steel cage. I thought this was better than the strap match that they had at Extreme Rules. Drew McIntyre gets to win. So tit for tat here, and then seemingly I assume that Survivor Series is going to be the rubber match. And now again, where do you go from here? You had the strap match, you had the steel cage. Do you up the ante some other way? And what do you give him in a Hell in a Cell match? Do you give him, God knows what you could actually put? Last man standing, I quit, some type of stipulation to get to the next level from that one spot you're at right now, which is their tit for tat in a strap match and a steel cage match.
I said yesterday on SCW's review, the two matches I'd like to see would be throwing back to WrestleMania 7, the blindfold match, Rip Martel versus Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of liquid in eyes and stuff like that. I think that could be something they can do. It's a bit corny, but it could be fun. The other one is Scarlett in a cage, a bit like Mankind and Undertaker, like where Paul Bearer was in the cage. They could do that.
Okay.
I was hoping it'll be the feud over, to be honest. It is 1-1, so we are probably going to get another match. I thought the match itself was far better than what we've seen before. There was some bits that were a bit stupid. The prime example, Scarlett squirting stuff in Drew's eyes. Drew makes a recovery. She then doesn't squirt him again. Is it like the liquid run out or something? You know what I mean?
She only had enough for one spray. That's what it was.
Yeah, budget cuts or something. I don't know. But I thought it was okay. The right person went over. Karrion Kross didn't really get too harmed in this defeat. But both wrestlers need to get off a different feud, really. I'm kind of done with this, to be honest. I think it's okay. And it's just kind of giving them something to do, really.
Yeah, I think the timing of it was poor because he comes in Karrion Kross in his return during the middle of that Clash of the Castle build. So it obviously felt bigger because Roman was involved, the title was involved, the big show was involved. But coming out of that, it's kind of fallen off because it doesn't feel as important as it once did when the feud first started. And I think that might be the main issue. Also, the styles, maybe they don't clash that well between McIntyre and Kross, but I just think it's the fact that you gave him two stipulation matches off the rip. I think that might be another one of the issues for it. Yeah,
it's hard. I think the problem is the only person that's getting over in this is Scarlett, aka Sable. She's the only person that seems to be getting over this in this situation. But let's see where they go with this. I think they can do maybe a little bit more, but the rubber feud, I don't think Karrion's going to get the long win. I think Drew's the one that's going to win the feud, unfortunately. But Karrion's the one that probably could do with a rub, to be fair, rather than Drew.
You gotta hope Karrion Kross is not another Mark Mero. I really hope that's not the case. And Scarlett hopefully Scarlett's Sable. And hopefully he's not Mark Mero. SCW, what's up, Steve? Thank you for joining us. This is what's happening, guys. Hope you are doing well. I'm doing great. What about you, Jonesy?
Doing very well. It's always great to talk about a pay-per-view the night after. That's for sure.
It is way better. Getting nice and rested up. All right, so Drew McIntyre wins the steel cage match. Next match, Bianca Belair versus Bayley for that Raw Women's title. Obviously, the match is a kick-ass match. Yes, great match between the two women. They work really, really well together. But they've had a few matches now, and I feel like eventually Bayley needs to beat her and win the title. I think you're running into that dreaded babyface that can't lose and gets tiresome with Bianca Belair, kind of John Cena style stuff like that, where you're just like, she's beating these people like too much. If you have so many matches with one person, I think like we agree, she should have lost the ladder match to Bayley. She shouldn't have destroyed Damage Control the way she did at Extreme Rules in that ladder match. I thought they were gonna right the wrong here by giving the title to Bayley and then having Damage Control kind of run the night, but no, Bianca Belair still your Raw Women's Champion.
Yeah, I think for me, really, really good match. Fantastic. Got a lot of bells and whistles. I love the hard hitting style. I love the buggy, all that stuff that happened. Really inventive in parts. I really kind of enjoyed it. I thought the finish just didn't really help. Like, it was a clever finish, don't get me wrong, but you mean to tell me Bayley didn't think to get Damage Control to come in and like sort of get her out of the situation?
Yeah.
Nikki Cross ran in for the first match. Why didn't she run in here? And I felt this did nothing really to build more games. And the only person coming out of any benefit out of this was Bianca Belair. But she's getting to that point now where people are turning. I think like people are sick of her as champion. She's a fantastic wrestler. She's had the belt for so long. And she's getting to the point now where nobody can beat her, which it's a shame. I think for me, I hope that obviously this isn't going to probably be the end of it. I'm sure on Raw with War Games, this is probably going to carry on. But when Bayley does get the belt now, I think Bayley going in a title match, she's able to get the job done when it's a non-title. But the minute the title's at stake, it's kind of you already know the result, which is a bit disappointing. Really, I think Bayley should be a new champion here. But let's see where they go. I presume they've got a long-term plan for somebody to beat Bianca, and probably that person may be Charlotte Flair, unfortunately.
Yeah, she's running she's running that thin line of when the babyface is just too dominant and doesn't lose. This is the spot you get into. The golf cart spot was pretty atrocious. Came off really bad. Yeah,
you didn't like it.
Spot.
I thought it was funny.
I just thought like it didn't go. I don't think it went the way they planned it to go, and it wasn't really all that great.
When she couldn't hit her, like it was kind of the hit and run part was a bit weird because that, but on the roof, and then sort of like the fact that she didn't do anything on the roof, but it was just nice to see that sort of other intervention. This really felt like a proper last person standing match, and I think they did well with what they did. At least they used the surroundings and stuff like that, but I think the finish is just where they go next, really, with this. I think if you do this War Games match, Damage Control really needs to come out with this. Bianca needs to be the one that's probably getting pinned. If you are going to do the women's title as part of this, maybe Bayley can get the belt there, but I'd question why she couldn't do it like when there's 3 of them last month and also last night as well, where she had the momentum for 8% of the match.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it doesn't make any sense for Damage Control not to come out and help in a match that kind of style. Doesn't make much sense logically. I know you want to get to Survivor Series, you want to get to the War Games match, but
the last thing I'll say as well about it is, say the match ended. This was the perfect time really for have Damage Control come out and do a beatdown. You get the babyface to make the save, and this is where you want to be creating War Games, just to get an idea of what the teams are. I know we've got a few weeks to build it, but why not give a taste of that after this match? Because these two are 2 components probably in the War Games match.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to get to that point. Started here. Give us something after. If you didn't give us the result we wanted, where Bayley winning the title and Damage Control being on top, give us something to satiate us to the point where like, okay, we know where this is headed. We're getting a good idea how it's going to work out for War Games. Something everybody's extremely excited for, and can't wait to come for Survivor Series War Games match. Alyssa can't wait for Cody to come back. Cody versus Roman, biggest feud. I mean. If he's ready for that Rumble season, I don't see anybody else really. Unless they do The Rock, against Reigns this year, it could just end up being Seth versus Cody at WrestleMania. But
I think he's the first choice besides The Rock. The other backup they've got is Sami Zayn. Like Sami Zayn, he keeps saying it every single week. Would not surprise me if he's in the main event of WrestleMania against Roman Reigns, based on the organic reaction he's getting. But I think whoever Roman faces at WrestleMania, this is the time to get the belt off him. I think if he wins WrestleMania this year, I don't know where you go then. I have no idea who can finally beat him because this guy's been unstoppable. He's beaten everybody, absolutely everybody, as we said, month on month, really.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You run the risk of like when you get to that point, like where is the next jump off from that point? There's really not much. I mean, unless you're going to bring in somebody completely out of the blue and never faced Roman before, then really doesn't make much sense. But unless they want to swap titles, maybe let's say that's a long wait. If you go to WrestleMania, it ends up being The Rock that takes him on. The title's on the line. The Rock loses. If the next person you're gonna have to drop this title at a big event, would have to be SummerSlam, the following big event, and it would have to be Cody at that point or Seth.
I agree. I think that maybe you do Roman having 2 title matches, one night 1, night 2. Maybe Seth Rollins night 1, Seth wins it night 1 potentially. Then you could do Seth and Cody as well, or vice versa. That could be the route maybe they go down. But definitely Cody Rhodes is the one I'd like to see other than The Rock. To be fair.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be like kind of New Japanish when they have done it for Tokyo Dome shows where
Yeah.
like, the title's on the line night one, and whoever wins that faces another challenger
Yeah.
night two. It could be good stuff there. Next match is Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, a match we're all excited for. I thought it was solid. A little different than I thought it was going to play out, but Lesnar gets the win. And what did you think of the match, Jonesy?
I really liked it. I thought it was hard hitting. Like the impression I got was Brock was injured. I like Bobby jumping the gun, showing a more aggressive side. Bobby's losing his mind. The heel turn, I think, is finally on. We've been saying weeks, it's finally on, which is nice to see pay off. Yeah, I thought this was clever. I think the money issue really was that Bobby didn't get the win, I think, but he dominated the match for most of it. And this is leading to a third match, probably at WrestleMania. Originally, it was pitched in for day one, I believe, but hopefully they'll do it at WrestleMania because this would be great. Like let's see the winner, let's see the decider, and I think for me, Bobby has to hopefully get the win there.
I hope so too, because that would make the most sense, right? So you're going tit for tat here, setting it up for, I guess, the Rumble. They meet each other in the Rumble, and then that continues their feud going into WrestleMania. It wasn't a convincing win, so they try to protect Bobby at least somewhat with the way the match ended. It didn't seem like his shoulders were really down for that pin, so that's an interesting route to go with it, and him going crazy and at the end and stuff like that. So the heel turn's coming. It's just one of those things. Like, do you have at the WrestleMania? Do you have the heel be the guy who's triumphant at the end of the feud? It's one of those things WWE doesn't like to do.
I think you got to do it though, because Bobby's there all year round. Brock is an attraction. Brock losing to Bobby doesn't really do any harm long term. Bobby, if he's with MVP again, for example, that could happen. I think Bobby's done his best work as a heel when he's a fun-loving baby face, like sort of hugging babies and giving high fives and stuff like Lex Luger back in '94. It's probably not the best. I think for me, Bobby as a heel can do his best work, and I think Bobby, if he wants to be a heel, really needs to start blaming the fans, which I would go down and say the fans cost him basically, which I think he'll do on Raw this week.
Yeah, so basically you would have to get Omos down away from the main roster to free up MVP so he could join back up with Bobby Lashley. I would be totally cool with them bringing back the Hurt Business, even though
I think there's rumors
the Hurt Business, there's rumors of it, but even though they've done it twice already, it's kind of one of those things where it's lost a lot of momentum and a lot of it's not that fondly looked upon in the later run as it was in the beginning. But if you want to erase all that, you kind of just act like none of that stuff ever happened, and you kind of just start from scratch there. SCW says, should Roman get to 1,000 days as champion?
If there's nobody better to beat him, nobody suitable to beat him, then yes, definitely this guy's been incredible. His matches are fantastic. His matches get better and better. The match this past week, the pay-per-view was incredible. Roman has been a great champion. I think it's not his fault that WWE don't have people that are at that level. They don't have 5 Stone Cold Steve Austins ready to take the belt at any time. But I think if he can get there, but for me, Cody Rhodes is the last hope for me. Cody Rhodes is this answer to Drew McIntyre in Cardiff. Is that sort of hope you think really the title's in jeopardy here? But any story arc is going to be down to the bloodline falling out. I think ultimately that's the way they have to do it, because the minute the bloodline are there, unless you've got a stable to help, I think it's obvious that they're going to get involved.
Yeah, it is. But I agree with you. Cody is that guy. It's going to be like that kind of same feeling that you got in Cardiff with Drew McIntyre. It's going to be, they want to see him win. They want to be, you just felt it that this man was going to be the heir apparent and the guy to take down Roman at some point or another. But yeah, 1,000 days as champion, that's a great thing to get ratings in a SmackDown. Like, oh, we're going to celebrate his 1,000 days as champion. Something fun is going to happen. Somebody's going to come out. Somebody's going to break it up or something like that. So SCW, Omos needs a live mic. Omos was talking more smack than D'Lo Brown in his match yesterday. Haha.
It was good. I thought the press conference was good as well. Like he was holding his own, and I think he's good. But maybe you can make him sort of that attraction that speaks. I remember when he was paired with AJ Styles in his first match, we was really excited for him, to be fair. This guy's had a lot of time in the WWE system. Let's see if he can go on. Like, the more people he works with that are better, hopefully that will transition for him.
I mean, hopefully it will, because it's one of those guys again. But you have to use him very sparingly because just how massive that the guy is, right? He's not one of those guys you could have there all the time, because then you run into booking issues and you don't know. It's confusing how to book the guy, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to keep him there. Over time, so many times, and oversaturate him, because those attraction guys, you can't oversaturate him. So Brock, the way we get Brock is solid, and the way we get Logan Paul is solid. They don't feel oversaturated at times because they take so many breaks in between.
I agree.
Yeah. West Coast Pop, LOL Steve, too bad I couldn't understand half of it. Talking about Omos, talking all that trash. It's one of those things. But I did like his presence and everything like that. He held his own against Braun in terms of the press conference like you were talking about. but it was well put together. And obviously, the weigh-in for that is the big selling point of it. You sell the size of these two giants. That's it's smart. I like the press conference style that they pull. I think it should only be used for massive events. If you want to use it for, let's say, like 3 out of the big 4, or if you want to use it for all big 4 pay-per-views, you can go ahead and do that. I think it works tremendous. It works here well. It would work in Cardiff well as well, because you get that international crowd there. I think those things work when you do it like that. But do them sparingly, but if you do them like you did this one, I think it's well done. I think it's a thing people like.
I give them their credit and their due. Like, they were the only people really on the show that felt that got heated. Like, Bailey was being a babyface during hers. Roman Reigns was getting owned, as we spoke about off air. You said that. And I think the thing with it is, for me, they need to, if they're going to do these press conferences, let's have it be hatred. Let's have parts where you're questioning, was that legit? Was that meant to be said? Someone do a stiff punch or something. No, you don't want someone to get injured, but you can do stuff that looks kind of stiff. That does create the sense of chaos. They can't control the situation. Let's make these feuds seem personal. You know what I mean? Rather than people best friends. And when you get into a women's title match, for example, let's not be sort of, it's great to do this match. It's an honor whistle when you've been feuding them for weeks and they've been cheating you at every opportunity. You know? What I mean,
you got to keep kayfabe at that point, right?
Yeah,
you have to keep.
I like kayfabe is dead, but you've got to keep it.
At that point, you have to, right? Because everybody knows the deal. Everybody knows the way the sausage is made at that point. But you got to at least try to play it up so that fine. You can touch on the fact that it's an honor to do it and everything like that, where they're doing it at.
I would even said that if I was, I would just said, I'm going to be having this time tomorrow. I'll have your belt. You'll be wherever. And then the minute she started sort of speaking, I've had the belt for whatever, you just wham, you shut that down.
Because it's a fun way to go about it, right? Like, to do it that and play up the storyline as much as you possibly can. Like, somebody like Kevin Owens would have done it. He would have played it up as much as he can. He wouldn't have broken that kayfabe wall down.
Look at Roman Reigns in Cardiff after he won the title, when there was the interviewer was questioning him and said stuff like, and he just didn't acknowledge me and then walked out. That's kind of what you want to see. It's your character, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to keep the character. I mean, I know you got to have that point where the character kind of turns off and you turn to your normal self. But when it's press conferences, I still think in interviews you have to stay in character, because that takes away, if you don't, from who you are, what you're currently doing, and stuff like that. So, next match, OC versus the Judgment Day. There was a fun little Bullet Club slip up, I think, from Michael Cole. He ended up referring to them as the club after, thereafter, but he did bring up Bullet Club, which is one of those things everybody kind of hears and they're like, like, it's one of those things like, oh, they said it kind of thing. It's kind of like when they say WWF by mistake. That's it feels like the same kind of way. Rhea Ripley got involved. We talked about her hairstyle. She's obviously teasing, Beth Phoenix and a lot of stuff like that. Judgment Day gets the win. It's a 6-man tag. They're always kind of okay. They're never all that, amazing. It's funny to see Dom going toe-to-toe with AJ Styles. I think that's funny. It's funny when you think about it. It's just like, it's as ridiculous as it sounds when I say it. But Judgment Day gets the win. It seems we're hoping this is going to be the War Games match, like we talked about previously, because it feels like it warrants it the most for the men anyways.
It has to be. I think, to be fair, this was a fantastic match. I really enjoyed it. I thought Rhea Ripley coming out with the Beth Phoenix thing was incredible. That was really clever. I enjoyed it. I thought Dom Mysterio played a great part. Just give him a mic. That would have been far more fun. I like him on the mic. He's quite entertaining. And yeah, I thought this was great. My only issue with this was AJ Styles getting pinned. AJ Styles is a legend. It's rarity we get him on pay-per-view these days. Why couldn't Kyle Anderson be pinned? That's all I would have asked, really. But I get what they did. The right people went over. Commentary, Michael Cole was really good as well, saying that, really highlighting Rhea Ripley. I think whoever they bring back to play this fourth woman or whatever has to be Beth Phoenix. If it isn't, I think going into this feud, I really expect Judgment Day to lose, to be fair.
Yeah, I think the OC, because you have to keep the OC credible, right? Because you brought these two guys back, and their first run was so lackluster and poorly managed and stuff like that. And I honestly think these guys could be really one of the top tag teams in the division. But I also think Carl Anderson alone can be a very solid mid-card title holder. It's kind of like, he feels to me like that era of Attitude Era when you had those IC title guys who were like D'Lo, Val Venus, guys like that, Ken Shamrock, those guys that were always in that mix for that IC title. I feel like he's one of those guys, but for this era, to kind of be that guy who's a mainstay in that tag team in the IC title or US title picture. And he's always one of those guys that can always win that title. I really do think he can be that kind of guy. And even at one point, like we saw him in Japan, make it to the finals of the G1 that one year. He can surprise everybody and maybe surprisingly win a world title. But yeah, it's just, AJ getting pinned, I don't know. He's okay with it. He's a company guy. He's kind of one of those guys you tell him what to do, and he's like, "Yes, sir." He gets it done. You need guys like that, but he's an absolute, like you said, he's an absolute legend. I mean, you see that behind me, right? That's AJ Styles' toy right there. That's my guy. So I hate to see him take pins and stuff like that. I want to see him as champion. But eventually, I hope to see AJ as champion or Finn as champion, them in a feud against each other.
Definitely. I think I think it would be really, really interesting kind of where they go, because obviously five people in this match. Judgment Day have got their stable. It's just going to be a case of the OC need 2 people. So that's Rhea Ripley. Not Rhea Ripley, sorry, it's Beth Phoenix and Edge. It's got to be. They're the 2 they've got to do. I'm looking forward to seeing this. I think this will be a good end. It's a shame Rey Mysterio isn't around. Like, I think maybe there's still a chance Rey could be in this match potentially, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed this feud. I think the rebuilding of Judgment Day since earlier in the year has been fantastic. The work with Dominic Mysterio, Rhea Ripley, they're so over, and I'm really enjoying this. I didn't think I would, and I think this has been told such a good story. Looking forward to seeing this in Survivor Series. I think this could be a really good War Games match if given the chance in ring.
They really could, and it'll help both teams because they'll have the rub of a massive match to them, so it'll help both of them. SCW says every day we get further and further away from another run with AJ in the main event. It does feel that way. It does feel like we may get it, and then it kind of just goes away, and then we kind of get into the spot we're in right now. Not saying it's a terrible spot to be in, but for AJ, we feel like he should be at that next level at all times in the main event. But we are seeing the maturing process of Dominic Mysterio really getting into what he's doing, right? Previously, when he was with his dad and the tag team stuff, just like, nobody really cared for him. It was what it was. It was cool to see father-son as a tag team. But now we're just really seeing him come to his own, and he's getting the rub of obviously turning on his dad, which is the most dastardly thing you can do in professional wrestling. But we're seeing it here, and the promos he's saying him comparing himself to Eddie Guerrero, or saying Eddie Guerrero was the Dominic of his era. It's hilarious because it's so ridiculous, but it's really well put together, and he's one of the shining stars of this, and he's getting the massive rub from all this.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's learning as well as he does it. And I think this guy really on the microphone could be something huge. Like, I think he could be WWE's answer to MJF if he's done right. I'm not saying he'll be good anywhere near MJF as good as, but I think he could really. What's better? What's more hatred than turning on your own father? You know what I mean? And all the other stuff he's done.
Yeah, it's like the worst thing you can do in pro wrestling. I mean, that automatically gets you over as a heel by doing 100%. That. West Coast Podcast, Triple H will split the belt sometime after Mania. He knows guys like AJ, Cody, and others deserve title runs, and gets Vince painted themselves into a corner with the unification.
Yeah, I hope they split the titles. I think what would be interesting just to see where they kind of go with this. I think it's one of the things where they have to get the belts off Roman, both of them.
Yeah.
And it's how they do that with credibility is the thing. Like, Roman loses, he can go away for a while. I think Roman's that much of an attraction. He doesn't need the title now.
No, he doesn't need it anymore. And yeah, the unification is a problem. I've said it a million times. I'm not going to go into it, but I don't think they should have 2 titles. I think she should only have just one, and he travels from show to show. But whatever, I'm not going to get into that. We talk about it all the time. Next, let's talk about the main event. Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul. He's coming out with Jake. Obviously, Jake gets in there. He gets physical in the match. Great stuff. You saw the big frog splash through the table. He actually, selfied him, recorded himself. He's a tremendous athlete. Yeah, exactly. He got injured doing it. You saw the big springboard that he did into the ring. The flip into the clothesline. You can say whatever you want about him being in this position. I do think that Roman sold a little bit too much for him. I think they should have booked it more similar to how, like I said, Brock Lesnar, when he faced AJ, when he faced smaller guys. I think they should have booked it more like that. More if it be reluctant luck from the challenger to get his offense in. I think he just got a little bit too much, especially for a guy like Roman in his state right now, where he's just the top guy for 2+ years. I don't think he should give up that much offense to somebody like Jake Paul. But you got to give Jake Paul as much credit as you possibly can, because in his 3 matches, he has impressed. He's gotten better in all 3 matches. There's certain things about his character and his mic skills, stuff like that, where he just feels too much of like a YouTuber when he's talking on the mic. He just feels too much like that. He doesn't feel like a pro wrestler. But in the ring, tremendous athlete. Great look, and he does a hell of a job. The right man won. Roman Reigns won. Could this lead to Jake Paul doing more in WWE? I'm not sure. He's making a lot of money as a boxer. Why would he leave it? But the right man won. I just think he sold too much for Logan Paul.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it was a fantastic match. Logan Paul, so impressive for such a little time he's had in the ring. Yeah. Roman Reigns really sold the injury right at the end of the show. My only real sort of issue I had with the match was a couple of things. The Jake Paul thing. Jake Paul takes out your tag team champions. That's not a good look for me. I get that he couldn't take out Solo because Solo they want to keep strong.
Yeah.
And I think the finish, they had a great opportunity at the end of the show for the Bloodline standing tall as they always do to take them out and build something up out of that, have somebody take them out. But it's interesting to see where they kind of go next with this. Roman Reigns, to me, I just think he's getting to that point now where we don't have a challenger instantly. Like, I don't know the sort of Survivor Series where he goes in at this point.
Let's take Survivor Series off, which I don't think
Maybe
he
he
will. I don't think he will, but you know, unless you just, it's obviously Survivor Series is going to be revolved around War Games. So at that point, you know, you don't really need the title because the spotlight is on a match like War Games.
The only thing you may do is you may sort of escalate. Seth Rollins and Bobby, I think, are changing roles. Bobby's going to the heel side, Seth's going to the babyface side. Maybe they do a fast babyface turn on Raw tomorrow night, and then Seth challenges Roman, because that's a quick feud they can do that doesn't need a lot of build, that made the story. But for me, I really, really enjoyed this match. I thought it was a really, really good match. It delivered everything. Logan Paul's willing to put it out there, and I think this is just incredible. Like, just to see with somebody with such little experience to come in from outside and do what he's done. I'm really impressed with this. I just think the story they're probably telling is the more and more Roman gets closer to losing, he's getting more and more injured, which maybe is the point when he does finally lose.
Yeah,
soon.
I mean, it's the most logical thing you could do to get him lose the title and keep him extremely strong is that just the grind, the wear and tear on him that for this whole time is as to why he lost when he does eventually lose. SCW says, who does a better buckshot lariat, Logan Paul or CM Punk?
Logan Paul. Every day, all day long. CM Punk is an expert. It's Logan Paul.
Yeah, he said sorry he couldn't resist, but Logan Paul, is better than CM Punk. Real quick, what are your thoughts on the Bray Wyatt stuff?
Yeah, okay. I thought it was okay. I'm not really that impressed with it, if I've got to be honest with you. I think like the first few weeks I was really kind of into it. And I just think we're going at a snail's pace. They get you on all the answers on week one.
Yep.
And it's getting to the point where Bray Wyatt himself is something that I don't know how they're going to explain. Like this whole thing of him and Uncle Howdy. I get that Uncle Howdy's like in his mind and all this other stuff. I just hope that they've got a long-term strategy with this, and I just don't know really where it goes. I think Uncle Howdy's all right, but it's just only so much you can see these cryptic promos with little or no. We're getting sort of really small bits week by week, which is fine, but I just want this to sort of start making senses. A lot of the stuff they're showing, like these videos, all it is stock images. It's not like it's going to be new characters or anything like that. It's a bit disappointing. There's been no real follow-up either on the White Rabbit. The whole point of this was the White Rabbit. You had the music they didn't want to pay for in the end. And they've not really followed up that. That seems to be dropped. The only thing that's been consistent is the door can travel everywhere, unlike most of the roster, unfortunately, it seems.
Yeah, that's a good one. The door can travel. Yeah, it definitely can more than some of the guys on the roster. That's a funny one. Yeah, I agree with you. It's the ambiguity of it continues. Like you don't really know what the hell is happening. And I think if they give you more tidbits on Raw, just small things, and keep the bigger stuff for SmackDown, it'll keep you a little bit more interested and invested and give you a little bit more to chew on there. But right now it just feels like, what the hell is happening? Where's this all headed? And obviously nothing important is going to happen until Survivor Series when it comes to this whole
I don't think even then, mate. I think the plan is WrestleMania. Yeah. The match is WrestleMania. I don't know what the match will be, but the match will be WrestleMania. The only thing I can hope is that this Wyatt 6, I'm hoping it's still going to be a stable. I'm hoping it's not 6 personalities of Wyatt. And I think the thing with it, they've just got to be consistent. Like, I think it's great to get small things. I've been impressed initially by the video packages we've seen because they're so different. It's just a case of bit by bit. My only slight concern is with the Alexa Bliss thing again. We've been down this road before, and because you can't do the violence on women, it ends up being a non-starter. And it's just one of them things where it goes on and on and on. I don't want it to get to the point where it gets so convoluted you can't explain it. I want everything to make some sort of sense of it. My biggest hope is that some other people benefit, like people like Bo Dallas when they come back, and Vincent if he's signed, benefit out of Bray. But I'm enjoying Bray, like the interaction. But what makes me question is when Bray seeing this Uncle Howdy interrupt him on screen, because it is Bray. He's not even acknowledged. It's not even like the promos are carrying on week. It's almost like it's just there. You can see it, Uncle Howdy, all this lot. Bray doesn't go, well, my Uncle Howdy this, my Uncle Howdy that. It's almost like it's not really important, I feel.
No, I agree with you. It's very
a big mental health battle. That's what it is, really.
Exactly. So it's moving at a pace where you kind of are kind of like, you want to get, they need to give you just a little bit more meat on the bone here when it comes to this type of stuff. Because if you continue down a road where everything's just so like, what the hell's going on? You run that risk of like original Bray Wyatt, right? When he was the Wyatt family, where his cryptic promos at the end, you just had him talk too much, and you're just kind of like, what the hell is this guy talking about most of the time? You're kind of running that risk where you keep everything so close to the chest, and you kind of just give you little tidbits here, and you're kind of just watching this random stuff happen, and it doesn't make much sense to you. You kind of run that risk at the end where people get tired, like, I have no idea what the hell's going on, and I'm not interested anymore. So eventually they got to give us something. But that's WWE Crown Jewel. It's solid. It's the best Crown Jewel I think they've done in all the Crown Jewels. The matches were tremendous for the most part. All of them were really, really stellar matches. The main event and the women's match was the women's title match was the best ones. It was well put together. I enjoyed the show, and I just want Bray Wyatt to be some more stuff going on there. I have a feeling Uncle Harper is going to be the good cop to counter Uncle Howdy being that bad cop. What do you think about that?
Agree with that. I think Steve's on the money. Like, I think definitely the trouble with this, you don't want to be the only beneficiary of this to be Uncle Harper and Uncle Howdy. If they're the only ones getting over, bear in mind Bray is going to have to wrestle eventually.
Yes.
And that's going to be the thing with this. I get that he's got this mental struggle. I just don't know where we're going with this, really. Obviously, we're getting crumbs at the moment. We do need a proper slice of cake, I think, but I'm willing to let it see where it goes. And I'm enjoying parts of it. Obviously, we don't want the answers now, but I just hope that there's a real thought out plan instead of just rambling for weeks on weeks with who is Uncle Howdy, all this other lot. When Uncle Howdy at the beginning, I thought was a really good concept. I thought it was unique. It looked like something out of a Rob Zombie film.
Yep.
But the fact that it's just probably going to be Bray, wouldn't surprise me if they're sensible, they put somebody else under the mask. That's what I would do personally.
Well, it could be at this point. It really does seem like it's Bray, right? The way he talks,
it is Bray.
It is Bray, mate.
Yeah, it is Bray.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that towards the end, when we get a reveal, they just swap it and somebody else. Like this whole time, it's been Bray, because they want people to think it's Bray, and at the end, when they do the reveal, it's Bo or it's somebody else. Hopefully, something like that. But yeah, like you said, they got to give us an actual slice of cake now. They got to give us something to really give us, to keep us invested in all this.
I'll give you a bit more. So Uncle Howdy, the whole point of this Captain Howdy or Uncle Howdy is basically from a 1982 movie called Hysterical by the Hudson Brothers. This was this guy called Richard Kill. He was a 7'2" giant, best known as Jaws. Apparently he played the role of Captain Howdy. So this is where it's all from basically, but it is ultimately a mental health struggle. Mental health is important, definitely, but I don't know. I think the thing with it, Bray Wyatt on the internal roster is listed as a babyface, so I guess he's going to be doing babyface stuff. Uncle Howdy in the background is doing stuff.
The heel stuff, yeah.
And I just don't know where it goes, really. We'll see. It's maybe hurt and heel and all stuff, but we've still got to explain where the Firefly Funhouse has gone. I know they came out at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Where's that gone? You know what I mean? We still don't know what's happened there. There's another thing that's been dropped, unfortunately.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a couple things that have been dropped, a couple things that continuity is not there right now. At this point, hopefully it all pays off in the end, and hopefully it's sometime soon. Again, you don't want it to just be like, low attention span stuff where it's just like, we got to give you things quick. You want things to have a slow burn, but they got to be meaningful slow burn. It can't just be kind of so confusing and kind of mysterious for this long. But that's Crown Jewel. Like I said, solid pay-per-view, solid premium live event, whatever the hell you want to call it. Next topic. And again, this guy, who knows, but WWE's interested in CM Punk. Why? I mean, CM Punk, I guess, right? He's popular. He's the hot topic now because of what he pulled, the stuff he pulled. Everybody seems to hate him, at least on the AEW side. I heard Matt Hardy said that the Elite were the victims in the brawl. They didn't do anything. They were the victims in all this. So that seems like to be the case because they seem to be coming back relatively soon, the Elite in AEW. But WWE, for some reason, interested in this guy. Jonesy, tell me, they interested in ring or is it something else? Commentary or backstage role? What are they interested in?
Everything. WWE definitely wants CM Punk. Remember, we said weeks ago, Bray Wyatt signed weeks and weeks ago before it actually happened. This is exactly the same source. CM Punk is coming to WWE. WWE are interested in him. From what I understand, it's a pay-as-you-play deal, so it'll be down on to how injured he is. The reason why they want to do that ultimately is they look at it like this. It's one over on AEW. AEW's biggest ratings were with CM Punk, even though everyone hates him. They want to do something with CM Punk. Obviously, they've still got this story they want to tell. Triple H is willing to waive this animosity between himself and CM Punk for business. They want to put him in the Hall of Fame potentially as well down the line. That's something they're looking to do. And I think for me, I'm not really a massive fan of CM Punk we've seen in AEW. I think it could be fun in WWE, but you can't really blame them for doing it. It's business. CM Punk will still get people's eyes on the product, and ultimately he's one that they can bring in. I think WWE are willing to take that risk. obviously get rid of the creative control and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's one that he's got to do. CM Punk has got to probably go somewhere. AEW obviously don't want him because AEW had the choice. What it comes down to ultimately is AEW had a choice. They either keep CM Punk or they get rid of the Elite, and they chose the Elite and Kenny Omega, which you can't blame them. They got 3 wrestlers there instead of 1.
Yeah, 3-for-1 deal right there. Now, this obviously he could be, as like you said, signed already, and that's probably why Colt Cabana showed up on AW Dynamite like he did, as kind of like an FU to CM Punk kind of thing. But I just it's like that you bring this in right now, like this all this baggage this guy brings and all the issues and stuff like that. You bring it into this locker room because it's kind of you think about 2 locker rooms, AEW and WWE, they're both filled with the same type of people, right? Because they're all like former indie guys. Well, even these guys, some of these guys were just from the performance and stuff like that. He's gonna rub people the wrong way there as he rub people the wrong way in AEW. I don't know. They have more independent guys than WWE does, but they're still around the same age and stuff like that. So is he rubbing just young guys the wrong way with he's just not a fan. He said he hates working with these kids and stuff like that. So that's to me the most interesting part about this is, does he get into more trouble when he goes to WWE? That'll be interesting to see. The Hall of Fame stuff, that's cool. That's fine and everything like that. I'm not a fan of him showing up there. I'm just not. If obviously I see it, money talks, and it's that decision makes sense, and it's a shot at AEW, but it's just damn, this guy's like damaged goods, feels like.
Let's just say this: it'll be a lot less money than it was when he went to AEW. That whole thing of a big comeback and a big comeback story is kind of gone, if that makes sense. AEW ruined that already, or they didn't ruin it; it's happened. And for me with CM Punk, look for it probably in the summer. I think next year. I don't know if they can get him out of AEW in time for WrestleMania, but this is a story they want to do. If WWE are clever, they probably won't do this. I'd bring him in as a heel. Bring him in as a heel,
Yes.
Anti-authority type figure. Let's have him be a nasty guy. I know you've got Roman Reigns as a heel, all this lot. CM Punk is best when he's like what he's at the press conference where you despise what he's saying. Let's bring him in as a heel. This guy, I think, could tell some great stories. And let's see what it does. I was very surprised to hear that WWE were in for him, but you can't blame him. Business is business after all. This is something they want to do, and they know he's going to sell shirts. He'll sell loads of shirts if he comes back.
Yeah, that first shirt he's going to come out with when he does come back is going to be crazy. West Coast Podcast says Sour Grapes Punk can join his wife in WoW, which was good last night. He holds on to too much negative baggage, which he does. Very surly bastard, very snarky bastard that he is. So it's just one of those things. You're playing with fire at this point, right? You bring him in, and you're kind of you got to be on your toes with him because you don't know how everything's going to play out. Especially from what he did in AEW was just nuts, right? Because he was so excited to be there, and I'm in love with pro wrestling again. This is the company I want to be. This like Ring of Honor, blah, 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 this and that, and then all that goes down. So
definitely,
it's a different era, different people. He may be,
I'm interested to see how as you said, how the locker room handles him and how Triple H handles. That's why you get rid of creative control. That's why you do the pay-as-you-play deal because ultimately he's injured all the time. But let's see what he does. I'd quite like him to come in as maybe an authority type figure. I know it's a bit of a waste. You're paying a lot of money for that, but it could do some good work. I think it could be interesting to see his side of the story. I don't know how much of his side of the story we're going to hear because of legal terms and stuff like that, but it's going to be a reaction and a moment if he does come back.
And he's always been kind of a pain when it comes to creative, right? Like one of those guys who's like, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. Doesn't work. I
think you get rid of the creative control and that eliminates that problem.
Yeah. So we'll see how it works out. Next topic: WrestleMania plans already in effect. Going up to WrestleMania and post WrestleMania. What you got for us, Jonesy?
Yeah, so WWE really have got their stuff together at the moment. What they've done is they're already kind of working on stuff already. So Paul Levesque said this week in the conference, he said that they're already further ahead with their creative plans than ever before. They're currently working on WrestleMania, the spring and summer after WrestleMania. And he said that he can't wait for the biggest people such as Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Randy Orton, and Cody Rhodes still to come back to move the ratings up. To me, I'm really, really excited for WrestleMania. I think this year's WrestleMania 2023 WrestleMania is going to be one of the best in a long time. I think Triple H so far has delivered. Every pay-per-view they've had has been better than ones we've seen in years before, generally, I'd say. And I think this is going to tell a really good story. I think the fact that they're really thinking about how to reinvent stuff with QR codes, all this other type of stuff, mystery, intrigue. I'm looking forward to how they pay off, but the fact he's planning like WrestleMania already, knows WrestleMania already about the card, and he also knows stuff in advance of WrestleMania, and if it may stop it, his injuries and stuff like that, suspension, stuff like that, it bodes well for us as fans, which is really good to see.
Yeah, I mean, I like what I've been seeing from him, from everything, and I'm excited to see what takes place heading into this WrestleMania and post, because post WrestleMania there's a post for WrestleMania lull, and I want to see if that continues, right? Because now we have new regime, new creative. Does the lull after WrestleMania happen? as big as it has before, and does it just kind of because the past few years after WrestleMania, you get that night after, and then but the months after WrestleMania have been so like bleh, you kind of just it's like you're like walking through mud at that point, and it's just like it's never been that really interesting. So I'm excited to see how that goes going forward. Next topic, Jeff Jarrett is all elite, good or bad?
I think on screen bad. The stuff he brings, like, it's similar to his WWE role, really, really good. They needed somebody in that power. The AEW roster was running amok around Tony Khan, so sensible. On screen, yeah, not really a fan of that. He's a great talker. I don't think he belongs in the ring like with a lot of them, unfortunately. But I think it was sensible. I think really, really they needed this, whether it be a Jim Ross or Jim Cornette or somebody to come into the promotion to try and grab the horns of it, to try and get that locker room under control. It makes sense. But for me, it didn't move needles. It didn't it shocked me, but I wasn't like, wow, this is a great signing. You know what I mean? I thought it was clever for the backstage stuff, but on screen, it just kind of passed me by.
Yeah, I mean, runs and hits Darby with a guitar. Yeah, I hope if he's in a managerial role, that's fine, right? I think that works. Jeff Jarrett's that guy. I saw somebody say that he's like the only guy that nobody's really ever paid to see, but he gets paid a ton.
He's a legend.
To see him. Yeah, he is. He's so savvy. He's been around for such a long time. Created obviously, TNA, and
USWA,
USWA with his dad, with Jerry. Yep. Yeah, exactly. So he's been there such a long time and has been on the management side of it. He's been in the in-ring side of it. I hope that he doesn't do too much in ring and more of his stuff is backstage and kind of, hopefully showing Tony Khan the ropes of how to run more of a proper wrestling company, keep everybody in check and stuff like that. Because from what we hear, the stuff everybody's running amok backstage.
Yeah, I think it's that the trouble you have ever since Tony Khan got Ring of Honor, his focus has been all over the place. You can't blame him. This guy's got a football club. He's got Fulham Football Club. He's got American football clubs. You know what I mean? It's no wonder. But really sensible hire by Tony Khan in that respect. I think an authority figure would have been a far better move. Having him on camera as an authority figure would have done exactly the same rather than him.
He'd be he's the commissioner of AEW, something like that. Yeah.
Rather than him just attack Darby Allin. Although that chair shot did look painful. It looked like it was botched, to be fair. The blood and all that lot. I don't know if that was blood in the guitar or whatever, but it looked pretty brutal.
Yeah, they may not have given it correctly enough. All right, so next topic we're going to go through quickly is AEW Full Gear predictions. Be the last topic of the show. We're going to run through the matches and just give our thoughts and who's going to win, and we'll see how it works out. It's a show that I may be in attendance for, as of right now I am. So we'll see how things go, and we'll do a live stream the night after if I am there for Full Gear. All right. Matches currently announced. We have Jericho, Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, Sammy Guevara, 4-way for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight title. Who do you think comes out on top on this one?
I think in that one, I would say that Jericho retains. I think Jericho, they really like the work he's doing with this, but the fact you're going to get Daniel Bryan and Cesaro in the Ring of Honor title match is crazy. It shows you how much they value this Ring of Honor title, the amount of experience they're going to have. It's crazy to me at this point.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna go with Chris Jericho. I think he's just because he's been beating all these prior champions. I don't think they're just gonna swap it now. Because I do think that we've talked about it before that he's gonna be kind of that name that hold the title when they go and do their own Ring of Honor show. Just like they did when AEW started Dynamite. He's the champion. It's the face that you want to put because it gives you legitimacy and importance at that point that he's the guy on top. I think he holds onto the title. The next likeliest person is gonna be Bryan Danielson because. I don't know. I haven't liked the way they've used him in AEW, but it's another one. He's a casualty of himself when it comes to that because he just wants to wrestle. This guy's like, I just want to wrestle. I don't care about storylines and stuff like that. I just want to have good matches. So he puts himself in that corner, but it's what he wants.
Yeah, he does.
Next match, Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm, singles match for the interim AEW Women's World Championship. Do you think it's Jamie Hayter's time, even though it's the interim?
There's two ways of playing this out. Like the sensible way would be Jamie Hayter's the best thing currently in AEW's women's roster. So yes, I'd like to see Jamie Hayter win. The other option is Britt Baker accidentally screws her. That starts that singles feud. Yep. For me, I think Jamie Hayter needs to win here. This is the perfect opportunity, even so the interim. The Jamie Hayter Britt Baker storyline that's probably going to explode probably towards the end of the year. It's going to be something special to watch. I think it could be incredible for AEW, to be fair.
This reminds me of Evolution, with either Randy winning the title or when or when Batista won for the title. So it feels like maybe Jamie Hayter wins this. They celebrate, Rebel and her or Reba, whatever her name is, and Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, and then boom, that's when the turn happens and they turn on Jamie Hayter because now she's the champion. She has what Britt wants. Britt doesn't want her there. She wants the title. stuff like that. I think that's where you go with it. I think you have Jamie Hitter win, and the turn happens. Like how they when Randy Orton won the title and they got him out of Evolution type of style. I think that would probably be the most interesting and best way to do it.
Yep, I agree.
All right, they're gonna have the AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament final. I'm not a huge fan of these Eliminator tournaments. Let me talk about who's in it: Eddie Kingston, Ethan Page, Bandito, Rush, Lance Archer, Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, Dante Martin. Who do you see winning at Full Gear? Not even who's like the final, but just who do you think win this whole thing by the end of Full Gear and gets the next title shot?
I think I'm trying to play this out logically of where they go. It's really, really tough, to be fair. I have no idea out of all them names, to be fair. I think
none of them really feel like
good.
Important
none of them would be good. None of them would be good because, I'm not too sure really. Maybe they do Brian Cage, but he's been sort of in the nowhere for a while. But I have no idea, mate. To be fair, I wouldn't even like to start.
And this is one of those things where you're like, I don't like these kind of matches, these tournaments, these stuff, and I don't like these casino matches for the most part because the person that wins never really feels legitimate enough to actually win the title or do anything of importance with it. And we haven't seen anybody doing importance, and we've seen guys show up at those matches, debut, get in the title feud immediately, lose, disappear. We've seen that with Brian Cage, so that with Lance Archer. We've seen it with other individuals as well. Ethan Page showed up at one of these casino matches and did nothing pretty much afterwards. So if I had to choose, I'm gonna probably pick maybe Ricky Starks, maybe Roosh, I guess, one of those guys.
Yeah, Ricky Starks might be the one, but whoever it is just basically a filler, isn't it? To be fair.
Yeah, it's a filler to get to the next feud after MJF wins the title. Next match, Acclaimed with Billy Gunn taking on Swerve in Our Glory in the tag team title match for the AEW World Tag Team titles. Another rematch. I don't think they swap the titles here. I think maybe we have the breakup maybe of Keith Lee and Swerve in this match.
Yeah, I think that. I think the Acclaim to win. This is filler. I have enjoyed some of the stuff they've done. I thought it was quite good. I'm just a bit disappointed we haven't got FTR in the spot, make it a triple threat, but I think they're saving that match probably for the next pay-per-view, maybe.
Which is a while from now, so it's a long wait after this, right? So it's one of those things when they have so little pay-per-views that you have long gaps in between them, and how do you book these things going forward? I think they claim to hold on. They're not gonna swap it back because that would be pointless. They got they saw the reaction they got the last pay-per-view, and then they switched titles at Grand Slam, so it made sense. You don't switch them back so quickly here. I do think you get Keith Lee and Swerve to separate, and we'll see where they're booked going forward. Because I think Keith Lee's been kind of misused in his time in AEW. Next match is the main event: Jon Moxley versus MJF, singles match for that AEW World title. This is MJF's time to shine. Again, Jon Moxley's been a transitional champion in his last few runs for AEW. Sans his first run, obviously. But this is MJF's time. If they don't give it to him here, I think the fans are going to really have an issue with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, MJF has to win. This is the point where William Regal has to turn. They have to do that and align with MJF. I think this is ultimately where they do it, or they have to firm help MJF. MJF going to babyface isn't something I really want to see. I think this may be the time that it may work, but his best work is a heel. He said that he wants to stay as a heel as well. So MJF to win it. If Moxley wins this here, I'd be kind of annoyed because MJF deserves the title. They've been building it for a while. He's had that chip for a long time. They've done a good story of building MJF up to this point. This is the time finally to execute that. He's done really well to recover following his loss to Wardlow earlier.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, did you he has to stay because Chris Jericho said that him coming back, he's gonna be a de facto babyface. He has no choice in it because it's just gonna happen because everybody loves him. He was gone, he came back, his cheer like crazy.
He does do it clean, but then I think the story really is with Regal turning because that's after that big promo and that dueling epilogue and stuff like that. I think it would be so much fun if Regal turns. Yes, you break up the Blackpool Combat Club at some capacity, but you've got to do that, really. If they do turn and they're together, not that MJF needs somebody to talk for them, I think that would be something fun to see. I think the promos, they could work together. Regal putting MJF over and stuff, I think that would be really, really good to see. Good television.
Yeah, so it feels like it's a culmination of stuff because they brought up the tremendous promo they had together, Regal and MJF, when they brought up the emails and stuff like that. So it could be one of those things where he turns on Jon Moxley, and then Jon Moxley gives that face where he gave where when Seth turned on the Shield. Remember when he hit Roman with the chair, the face Moxley did. I get one of those moments again, and then him kind of being Regal saying, "I always knew you could do it," right? Like in the end, like I always knew you could do it. I always believed in you. Playing back on the emails and stuff like that, and what he said to him previously. Now the interesting thing is, the firm, do they help? Because that would just mean he paid them to beat him up.
Yeah,
make it look real. Oh, make it look real. We're gonna screw with them where it's all a plan, but make it look real type.
Yeah, double bluff basically, just to sort of go along with that as well.
Yeah. So I think MJF has to win. I think not, then that Jersey crowd is gonna shit all over it. Because we're all gonna be there wanting MJF to finally
Of course.
go on top and win it. Yeah. But those are AEW Full Gear
There's
predictions.
some
What's
more
that?
predicted. We've got some more
Yep.
predicted
Go
matches
ahead.
if you want them. Yeah.
Yep.
So the other ones we've got here are the trios title. It looks like they're going to do that. Kenny Omega, Young Bucks versus Penta, Pac, and Fenix. I think that's on based on where the placement of the Visionette was recently.
Yep.
The Young Bucks and Kenny have to win that. That's a quick one.
It's gonna be a
quick
barn
answer.
burner of a match. Hell of a match. It's gonna be too. It's gonna be a hell
Yeah,
of
you
a
got
match. Yeah.
a few others as well. Daniel Garcia, Willie Yuta, winner on a pure title. That's probably going to happen. I'd quite like Willie Yuta to get it. Like his work with MJF the other week was great, but it's just down to what they want to do.
Yeah.
Another one we got here is Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs for the TNT title. That looks likely as well. I don't really care. Shane Wardlow's just in such a bad spot.
Yeah.
Another one, Jade Cargill, Nyla Rose for the TBS title. Give the belt back to Jade. Or if this is a way to get the belt off Jade, at least Jade could be a singles wrestler, which singles for the proper women's title.
Yeah. Well, you'd assume because like these pay-per-views always have like 10 matches, it feels 10, 12 matches. So we have a ton
We've
left
got quite a few more.
Yeah, we have a ton not yet to be announced. But those are all very plausible ones. It seems like that's where they're all headed to. And it makes total sense that we would get those
We've
matches.
got a few more still. FTR versus the Gun Brothers. That's something else apparently that could happen. FTR.
Okay. For probably non-title, right? Just a
just a match, just to do this. And there's a last few, I promise you. Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett versus Sting and Darby Allin. That's one that they've started building, was last week. And the last few, you won't be surprised. Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus, been going forever. That's probably going to be one. And the very last one's Britt Baker and Saraya. I'm looking forward to that if that happens.
If that happens, yeah, that's like semi-main right there. That match, to see that match go down. I'm not a huge fan of Jarrett and Sting. I think Sting needs to stop hanging out with Darby. Just get him off TV. Right, I think his time is gone by. That Sting and Darby stuff. I don't like having two 50-plus-year-old guys in a match with two guys that are in their late 20s or whatever. It's not. Or not Jay Lethal's older, but still, it's not a good look. I don't think AW should be doing that. That's a very WWE-esque type match. It's a very Vince McMahon-esque type match. It's something they shouldn't do. But the pay-per-view is gonna be loaded with matches, like as all their pay-per-views are like WrestleMania style cards, where it's like 27 matches on the card, kind of thing for AEW. But that's our stream. We appreciate you guys, everybody, for tuning in. Any last words, Jonesy?
No, thank you for watching. It's been great. I've enjoyed it. It's always great to chat wrestling. And have a good week ahead.
Appreciate everybody for tuning in, all the comments, everybody that watched. Make sure you drop a like on this video. Make sure you check out Jonesy's channel and everything like that. Follow us on social medias, all that good stuff. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week on another episode 24 of the Rasslin Report, and we'll catch you guys down the road.